Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Connecticut Department of Transportation and the town of Granby, I would like to welcome you all for attending this public informational meeting for State Project Number 55-146, Rehabilitation of Bridge Number 04516, located on Donahue Road over Belden Brook in the town of Granby. My name is Preeti Bardwaj, and I am the project manager assigned to this project. We appreciate your willingness to participate in this forum virtually, and we hope that you will find this meeting both interesting and informative. I would now like to go over some of the goals and format for tonight's meeting. I will be explaining how you will be able to interact with the project team. I will be explaining how this project is funded in the Federal Local Bridge DMS or Design Managed by the State program. We will be having some welcoming remarks by Mr. Kirk Severance, Public Works Director from the town of Granby. I will be introducing the project design team, and that includes the department's front office leadership, the department's design team, and our consultant liaison engineer team. This will then be followed by the technical portion of the design, which will include the condition of the existing structure, purpose and need for the project, and the recommended design solution, which has progressed to a 30% design completion. As part of the department's public outreach program, it is at this point now that we are reaching out to you, the public, while it is still early in the design process, to receive any comments and concerns and answer any questions that you may have. We will also have a representative from the Office of Rights of Way to explain the rights of way process. And lastly, we will have a live question and answer session. I will now explain how you will be able to interact with the project team. There are three means of how you will be able to communicate. The first is by email, which is dot-flbp@ct.gov, and I will spell that out. It is dot-flbp@ct.gov. You can also phone in. The number is 860-944-1111. Again, that number is 860-944-1111. Or you can also communicate by chat on the MS Teams live event chat. In this format, you can ask a question by clicking on the little question mark, which shows Q&A, and this will bring up your live event Q&A field. Select the Ask a Question button at the bottom right screen and a field will pop up. And you can type your question and hit either Enter with a little arrow button to send. You can also check the box on the bottom to post your question anonymously if you prefer. There will be a slight delay, but eventually your question will appear in the featured section with all other questions that are asked tonight. The project email, phone, and chat will be screened by the project team during the Q&A session, and the questions asked by any of these methods will be posted on the MS Teams Q&A chat window. The question will be asked out loud for the project team to answer. You can ask questions at any time during the presentation, but we will answer these questions during the live Q&A session that follows. We also have the project webpage link, where the recording of tonight's entire presentation, including the Q&A session, will be stored. The webpage will also contain the same information that I have previously explained on how to provide comments and ask questions. And that project webpage is portal.ct.gov/DOT Granby 55-146. And I will again spell that out. It is portal.gov/DOTGranby 55-146. Lastly, please remember that the comment period to ask questions or provide comments will be open through February 3rd, 2021 via either email or telephone. So if you think of a question after tonight's meeting or want to expand on a question asked tonight, you will have until February 3rd to do so. The MS Teams chat function is only available during tonight's live Q&A session. We would greatly appreciate it if you could fill out a brief survey that the department has through SurveyMonkey. The virtual public informational meeting platform is still a relatively new one for the department, and this survey will help the department improve these public meetings going forward. There's also a civil rights flyer available. Both the links to the survey and civil rights flyer are located on the previously mentioned project webpage. And lastly, I am required to read the following statement as part of the Title VI Civil Rights Act, and that is, no person shall, on the basis of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation or subject to discrimination in the development of this project. I will now like to explain how the project is being funded. This bridge is a town-owned bridge and is being funded under the department's Federal Local Bridge Program. Traditionally in this program, the town selects a designer, and because federal funds are involved, the department provides administrative oversight because the department is considered to be stewards of those federal funds. The funding is traditionally 80% federal and 20% town for the design, rights-of-way, and construction phases of the project. However, this project is going to be funded under the department's newly launched DMS, or Design Managed by the State program. In this program, it will be the department who will be performing the design on behalf of the municipality, utilizing our consultant liaison engineers who are Clough Harbor Associates, or CHA, on this project. CHA has completed the 30% preliminary design, and it will be brought to final design completion by one of our pre-selected task-based designers. In addition, the design phase only will now be funded with 80% federal and 20% state funds, so the entire design phase is at zero cost to the town of Granby. Although the 30% preliminary design was performed by the department, it was in full partnership and coordination with the town of Granby. We held several meetings with the town and diligently worked together to incorporate most of the town's comments and concerns. And now we are reaching out to you, the community, to also weigh in. The initiative behind the DMS program was to expedite design delivery for municipal projects. The DMS program uses a streamlined design approach where we are able to utilize full departmental resources and are able to internally perform design tasks concurrently rather than linearly. In this program, we are able to cut down the typical design time by a half and bring these projects to construction quicker, which is enabling the department's perennial goal of keeping our town bridges in a state of good repair. The department is pleased to be able to offer this program to the town of Granby. The DMS program is spending your municipal and state tax dollars efficiently and effectively, and at the same time fostering great working relationships with our municipal counterparts. And now I'd like to hand it over to Mr. Kirk Severance, Public Works Director from the town of Granby.
Thank you, Preeti. For those of you that do not know me, my name is Kirk Severance, and I am the Public Works Director for the town of Granby. The Connecticut DOT performs safety inspections for all bridges over 20 feet in length at 2-year intervals. The Donahue Road Bridge was flagged as one of those bridges in town needing repairs. We knew that the bridge needed to be rehabilitated and were looking for the most efficient way to proceed and stay within the guidelines of the allocated bond money. Traditionally, the town would have selected and hired a consultant to develop the design, and they would have been responsible for navigating through the design process, with the town covering 20% of design costs. As Preeti mentioned, when the Department of Transportation offered the DMS program to the town, we felt that it was a win-win solution for the town, since the state's pre-selected consultants would have better knowledge with the design process, resulting in both an early completion of design and construction, and not to mention the cost savings. We started meeting with the state in July of 2019 to get an understanding of how the program worked and how it may benefit the town. After several more meetings with the state, the town recognized that this program would be a good joint effort and agreed to go forward with it. While the design efforts have been led by the state, they have kept us in the loop on all aspects of the project, including providing us with various technical alternatives, their pros and their cons, and recommendations. They have also informed us that it is the town that will be making the final decision on all aspects. This process has gone very well, and the town thanks the department for truly partnering with us on fixing the town's infrastructure. Thank you.
I would now like to introduce the project team. I am Preeti Bardwaj, the project manager, shown in the center. To my left are the department's leadership, which includes Mr. Bart Sweeney, Division Chief, and Mr. Robbie Barapat, Principal Engineer. To my right are Mr. James Barrows, Project Engineer, and Mr. Dennis McDonald from the department's Office of Rights of Way. The consultant liaison engineers who have brought this project to 30% design completion are Clough Harbor Associates. And from CHA, we have Mr. Anand Shazadri, Project Manager, and Ms. Tracy Brace, Senior Engineer. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are finally ready to present our technical portion of the presentation, and you will be hearing a lot of bridge lingo throughout the presentation. Therefore, I am about to give you a 2-minute crash course on some of the structural elements on a bridge and the numerical condition rating system assigned on a bridge. On the diagram shown, the deck is the riding surface of a bridge. The parapets, or sometimes bridges can also have an open rail system, helps prevent errant vehicles from going off the bridge. The beams, or the girders, are the supporting structural elements on a bridge and are designed to support vehicular loads, the self-weight of the bridge, and any environmental loads such as wind or seismic, etc. The parapets, the deck, and the beams are what makes up the superstructure on a bridge. The abutments and the wing walls are the end supports on a bridge, and the piers, if there are any, are the intermediate supports. The abutments, wing walls, and piers make up what is known as the substructure of a bridge. The substructure not only supports the superstructure, but also helps in transmitting loads from the superstructure down to the bridge foundations. All state bridges and town bridges over 20 feet in length are inspected every 2 years by the department's Bridge Safety and Evaluation Unit and are assigned a condition rating on the major elements on a scale of 1 through 9, with 9 being excellent condition and 1 being imminent failure condition. When a major bridge element reaches a 4 or poor condition, that is when we start to initiate a project to address these structural deficiencies. Now that you are armed with basic bridge knowledge, I would now like to introduce Ms. Tracy Brace, Senior Design Engineer at CHA, who will be presenting the technical portion of the presentation.
Thank you, Pretty. Hello, everyone. So to start out with, I'll give a general overview of the project site. Here is Bridge 4516 and carries Donahue Road over Belden Brook in the town of Granby. Donahue Road is classified as a rural local road and generally runs in an east-west direction, connecting to Lost Acres Road to the east and Mountain Road or Route 539 to the west, off the map. There is one dead-end road off of Donahue Road called Beacon Tree Heath Road. Belden Brook runs generally in a north-south direction and flows into the east branch of the Salmon Brook. The existing bridge was built in 1956 and has a span length of 41 feet 10 inches. The roadway curb-to-curb width is 22 feet 10 inches, and the bridge carries one eastbound travel lane and one westbound travel lane. Per FHWA criteria, the deck geometry is rated a 4, meaning that the geometry meets the minimum tolerable limits without needing any corrective action. For the current average daily traffic, or ADT, on Donahue Road of 393 vehicles per day, FHWA requires a curb-to-curb width of 20 feet, which is less than the existing roadway width of 22 feet 10 inches. Even if the daily traffic on Donahue Road increases up to 1,000 vehicles per day, the required curb-to-curb width is 22 feet, which is still less than the existing roadway width. Per Connecticut DOT criteria, at a minimum, the bridge curb-to-curb width needs to match or be greater than the approach roadway width. In this case, the approach roadway width on both sides is 20 feet, so the existing bridge curb-to-curb width, being greater than 20 feet, also meets Connecticut DOT criteria. A couple of other things to note on this slide. There are overhead wires that run along the north side of Donahue Road to the west of the bridge and cross the roadway and bridge diagonally, connecting to a utility pole at the southeast corner of the bridge. Also, there are a driveway and private septic tank for residential property located very close at the northeast corner of the bridge. The existing superstructure consists of 7 pre-stressed concrete deck units and 2 pre-stressed concrete curb units that are a minimum of 25 inches deep and topped with a bituminous concrete wearing surface. Along both phases are curb-mounted bridge rail systems that consist of 2 wire cables attached to steel posts. Due to a horizontal curve over the bridge and the bridge being on a tangent, the lane widths vary from a minimum of 11 feet to 11 foot 10 inches. The superstructure, which is shown here, is supported on reinforced concrete abutments that are on spread footings founded on rock. The low chord elevation, located at the east abutment of 378.9 feet, is higher than the 100-year storm elevation and the 500-year storm elevation, meaning that the bridge can pass both the 100-year and 500-year storms. The bridge slopes down from west to east. The approach guide rail consists of 2 wire cables attached to wood posts. Here are some general photos of the bridge. on the left is the north elevation of the bridge. The fencing over here is for the residential property that I mentioned previously. That is very close to the east end of the bridge. The photo on the right shows the south elevation taken at the downstream side of the bridge. As you can see, the brook is flowing from north to south. These two photos show the bridge from the east and west approaches. In both photos, you can see the overhead wires that cross the bridge and the utility pole at the southeast corner of the bridge that will need to be relocated. In the photo on the left, you can see the horseshoe driveway to the property at the northeast corner of the bridge. As Pretty mentioned earlier, bridges are inspected every 2 years and rated on a scale of 1 to 9. Based on the latest biennial inspection performed in 2019, the deck overall is rated a 5, meaning that it is in fair condition. The overlay is considered to be in good condition, with minimal deficiencies noted. For this structure type, the deck condition is based mostly on the visible portion of the underside of the bridge, and considering that there is efflorescence and water staining evident between deck units, the deck is considered to be in fair condition. The photo on the right shows the bridge rail, which again consists of 2 wire cables attached to steel posts. The bridge rail is in satisfactory condition due to rust noted on several steel posts. However, this system does not meet current safety standards. The superstructure rating is based primarily on the condition of the girders, or in this case, the pre-stressed concrete deck units, and also the condition of the bearings, which for this bridge consist of pre-molded elastomeric material. The deck units are considered to be in poor condition due to large spalls in the concrete with exposed, rusted, and broken pre-stressing strands and transverse reinforcement called stirrups being found on a few deck units. The photo on the left shows the worst deterioration, consisting of a few broken pre-stressing strands, which are the ones in the longitudinal direction, and 2 broken stirrups. And this was found on beam number 5. Efflorescence, which is the white stuff here, and water staining between deck units are also typical conditions. There is also a 1-inch vertical misalignment between beams 1 and 2. The bearings are not shown here. I will point them out on the next slide, but they are considered to be in fair condition due to the pre-molded material squeezing out onto the abutment stems. These two photos show the substructure units, or the west and east abutments. Going back to the bearing condition, the bearings were considered to be rated a 5 because, as you can see, they're starting to squeeze out underneath the deck units onto the abutment stem base. The abutments are in satisfactory condition. There is some minor deterioration noted. There's areas where the concrete has spalled and there are exposed, rusted reinforcing bars. The footings are generally covered and there's riprap placed along the abutments. However, at the south corner of the east abutment, the footing is exposed slightly. And based on what's exposed and visible, the condition is considered to be satisfactory. Because this bridge is founded on rock, erosion and scour is not rated. It's not a concern at this. These two photos show the channel. On the left, we have the upstream channel from the bridge, and on the right, the downstream channel from the bridge. You can see there's a lot of rock lining the embankments on both sides. The channel scour is considered to be satisfactory. Embankment erosion is satisfactory. Generally, just noted at the northeast corner of the bridge here. And then the riprap that I mentioned is placed in front of the abutments is considered to be in good condition. Considering all of the existing bridge deficiencies and characteristics, the bridge elements that need to be fixed are the superstructure, which is in poor condition due to exposed, rusted, and broken pre-stressing strands in a few deck units. Also, the bridge and approach rail systems, which do not meet current safety standards. The substructure is in satisfactory condition and can be reused. However, there are some spalls and other concrete deterioration that could use repairs to extend the service life of the abutments. On the other hand, the existing bridge is hydraulically adequate and has adequate deck geometry. In addition, the abutments are founded on rock and there are no scour concerns at this location. So no major modifications to the bridge span, width, or profile are required. Therefore, the proposed improvements under this project include the replacement of the superstructure with a new superstructure consisting of pre-stressed concrete deck units, similar to what's shown in the photo here and what's on the existing bridge. The new superstructure will maintain the existing 22-foot, 10-inch roadway width. In addition, new open bridge rail, similar to this, and approach rail systems that meet current safety standards will be installed. Concrete repairs will be performed on the substructures along with the application of a protective sealant to improve the substructure condition and increase the service life. Full depth roadway reconstruction in both approaches is also proposed. So on this slide, we're comparing the existing bridge section with the proposed bridge section. The existing bridge has an out-to-out width of 26 feet 4 inches, and the proposed bridge has the same out-to-out width. And as I mentioned previously, the curb-to-curb width of 22 feet 10 inches will also be maintained. And this means that since we're matching the existing width, no major modifications to the substructure are needed. We don't need to widen any elements to accommodate the superstructure. In the proposed, there are 7 pre-stressed concrete deck units that are topped with a reinforced concrete deck that has a minimum thickness of 6 inches. The concrete deck will be topped with a waterproofing membrane and 3 inches of bituminous concrete. On both sides, we're proposing open bridge rail that's curb mounted and will meet current safety standards. On this slide, in the general plan and elevation views, the orange represents the proposed bridge superstructure limits. The black represents the existing bridge substructure. As mentioned before, the existing abutments are in satisfactory condition and can be reused with some concrete repairs and without needing major modifications. The yellow represents the limits of roadway reconstruction in the approaches, including the reconstruction of the driveway apron for the private property at the northeast corner. The pink represents the limits of approach guide rail that is to be replaced with new guide rail that meets current safety standards. A rounded guide rail section is proposed at the northeast and southwest corners. The green represents the proposed fill, and the brown represents the proposed cut associated with regrading needed to accommodate the new guide rail and slight widening of the approach roadway to match the bridge width. The red lines above and below the bridge represent the town's right-of-way. The blue represents the watercourse, and the lighter blue represents the wetland limits. Since the proposed superstructure is slightly shallower than existing, we are able to raise the low chord by 3 inches, and so the proposed superstructure will continue to allow the passage of the 100 and 500-year storms. New expansion deck joints are proposed at both deck ends. We are making a small modification to the back wall so that we can extend the deck slab over the back wall and move the deck joint beyond the ends of the pre-stressed concrete deck units. By doing this, even if the joints deteriorate in the future, allowing water to leak through, it will not result in any deterioration of the deck units or need for superstructure repairs, which are expensive. And here's the proposed roadway plan. Similar to the last slide, the yellow represents the limits of the roadway reconstruction, approximately 65 feet of the roadway on the west approach and 135 feet on the roadway on the east approach is to be replaced. The green and brown represent the fill and cut limits respectively, associated with some regrading needed. The gray represents the existing roadway pavement that will remain as part of this project. The utilities that cross diagonally across the bridge and this utility pole will need to be relocated to facilitate construction. I previously mentioned that there is a privately owned septic tank for this property at the northeast corner. It is located here. As you can see with the coloring, that construction is proposed to avoid that location. This is the proposed roadway profile. As you can see at the bridge, this line, the dashed line and the darker line, pretty much match up, and the dashed line represents the existing ground surface. The darker line's the proposed. So as you can see, we're basically matching the existing profile over the bridge. There is this dip in the road just east of the bridge, and we're proposing a slight raising of the roadway there to create a smoother curve through this section. And again, as mentioned before, the low chord is a little bit higher than the existing low chord, and this is still well above the 100-year storm and 500-year storm elevations. So the bridge is still hydraulically adequate. The aesthetics of the new bridge superstructure are very important, so we are proposing several things as part of this project. Form liner concrete is proposed for the end blocks to give them the texture and color of stone. It'll look similar to the end block shown in this photo on the right. An open bridge rail, similar to what's shown here in the photo on the left, is proposed and will be coated with a duplex paint, which is less prone to chipping and flaking off. The color of the railing will be decided by the town. During construction, the proposed maintenance and protection of traffic consists of a full closure of Donahue Road at the bridge. It's estimated that this would be for one construction season, or approximately 6 to 7 months. During this time, traffic would be detoured using the detour route highlighted in green, which uses Lost Acres Road, a portion of Route 189, or Granville Road, and then Route 539 for Mountain Road. The detour route is approximately 4 miles long. When looking at the aerial view and the property records through here, there are approximately 25 houses along this route, including those on Beacon Tree Heath Road. We're not aware of any commercial properties in this area, and therefore the thought was that a detour of traffic would not have a very significant impact to those using this route. There's still easy access on both sides to either Mountain Road or Route 189. As I mentioned before, the utility impacts consist of relocation of the overhead wires that cross over the bridge, and also most likely the utility pole at the southeast corner of the bridge. This will be needed in order to facilitate the demolition of the existing superstructure and placement of the new pre-stressed deck units. As for environmental impacts, fish passage will be maintained much like it is currently in the existing bridge. Temporary wetland and watercourse impacts are anticipated. However, the good thing about the proposed rehabilitation scope is that most of the work can be performed from the roadway in the approaches to the bridge. So that will significantly minimize the impacts to the wetland and watercourse. We do anticipate that a few permits will need to be prepared before construction, including the Town of Granby Inland Wetlands permit, the Connecticut Deep and DOT Flood Management Certification Municipal permit, and also the Army Corps Self-Verification permit. There are a few right-of-way impacts associated with the project. The ends of all 4 existing wing walls are currently outside of the town's right-of-way. Therefore, permanent takes are proposed to keep the entire bridge within the town's right-of-way. Temporary easements will be needed on the 4 abutting properties for construction access. Permanent slope easements on 2 properties are required to contain the regraded embankments at the northeast corner and the southwest corner. A right is also needed to regrade and reconstruct the driveway at the northeast corner. At the conclusion of my portion of the presentation, I'll turn it over to Dennis McDonald from the department's Division of Rights-of-Way, and he'll provide a more thorough explanation of the right-of-way process. Based on the current project schedule, construction is anticipated to start in spring 2023 and end in fall 2023. The current construction cost for the project is estimated at $1,120,000, and 80% federal funds and 20% town funds will be used to pay for construction. So at this point, I'll turn it over to Dennis McDonald from the department's Division of Rights-of-Way, and he'll go through the rights-of-way process in detail.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dennis McDonald, and I'm a representative from the Connecticut Department of Transportation, Division of Rights-of-Way. I'm just going to provide a brief overview of the right-of-way process. So the function of the Division of Rights-of-Way is to acquire all property and property rights necessary for the project. This is done in accordance with Connecticut General Statute Section 13A73, 13A98E, and the Uniform Relocation Assistance and Real Property Acquisition Policies Act of 1970 as amended. The typical right-of-way impacts include partial acquisitions, easements, and rights. Impacts are subject to change as the design progresses, but this gives a general idea of typical property impacts. Once property impacts have been established, each impacted property owner will receive a letter of intent to acquire along with a property acquisition map. The letter essentially initiates the right-of-way process, and the map provides a detailed overview of the specific right-of-way impacts. Soon after the letter is received, the valuation process will take place, and once a value has been established, each impacted property owner will receive a written offer of compensation. Property owners will be given time to consider the offer and negotiate should they wish. If an agreement is reached, an acceptance document will be signed, and a closing will take place at a later date. If an agreement is not reached for whatever reason, the state will utilize its power of eminent domain and acquire the property rights through the condemnation process. Now, I understand this has a negative connotation, but many times this is done to keep a project on schedule. If the state elects to pursue eminent domain, the original offer is deposited in the court system. Property owners can continue negotiations or file a formal appeal for a reassessment of damages through the court system. Please note all appeals must be filed within 6 months from the date in which the state files for eminent domain. And that is all I have for tonight. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dennis. And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes our technical portion of the presentation. I would like to thank everyone on my design team and everyone behind the scenes who helped put this live event together. We are going to leave the Q&A session information on the screen for your benefit, and we will be answering any questions that came in during the presentation and answer any questions that will come in during this live Q&A session. Once again, we would like to remind everyone to please visit the project website to participate in the survey pertaining to tonight's event, or ask additional questions, or view project plans and information. For those of you listening on the phone, again, the project webpage is portal.ct.gov/DOT Granby 55-146. So with that, we are now going to start the live question and answer session. We will take as many questions as we can. Feel free to use that chat feature or call in by phone. The number is again 860-944-1111, or by email. The address is again dot.flbp@ct.gov. And also remember that the comment period is again open until February 3rd.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like we have some questions, and I will proceed by reading questions out loud. We'll start with the first question that was asked, and that is, what will the work hours be for construction? Tracy from CHA.
Hi.
Hi,
Yes.
Tracy, could you please take that question?
Sure thing. So generally, during construction, the work hours will be Monday through Friday. I think usually in the contract documents, we specify 7 to 4 p.m. And it's pretty typical. No work is generally proposed in the weekends. If the contractor wants to do work, he would have to coordinate with the town and get permission first to do that work during the weekends or at nighttime or something like that.
Just to add to Tracy's response, we believe that there are sufficient calendar days that will be available in the project, so we do not actually anticipate that the contractor will be requesting any work to be done during the weekend hours.
Okay. Thank you, Tracy and Anand. Next question. Are there plans to widen out the entire road? Tracy, will you please take this question?
Sure. There are not plans to widen the entire roadway. This project was initiated because of the poor condition of the superstructure. So it is primarily a bridge project. So we are focusing on the deficiencies of the bridge, and any roadway work that's shown in the plans in the approaches is really just to tie into the bridge and create a smooth transition with the new superstructure.
Okay. Next question. Was a full replacement of the bridge investigated? Tracy?
Yes. During the preliminary engineering phase, we looked at all options, even just like patching the deck units on the underside where the spalls are, versus a superstructure replacement, and then also a full replacement. And we primarily did not go with the full replacement because the substructure is in satisfactory condition. The bridge is not considered to be scour critical. Scour's not a concern here. So to replace the entire bridge would increase the cost. It is more costly to do that. There would be more environmental impacts because we'd have to do water handling or installation of cofferdams to build the new superstructure or substructure units, and also there would be just more access from the watercourse. Also, there would probably be additional right-of-way impacts to gain access, and plus the duration of construction would be longer, significantly longer if we had to rebuild the substructure as well. So that's why we went with the superstructure and focused on the main deficiencies, which are on the superstructure.
This is Anand from CHA, and I just wanted to add that even though we are doing a superstructure replacement, the fact is that we still will get at least 50 years of service life from the finished rehabilitation. So that's an achievement that we are going to have.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Next question, where will the contractor place his equipment? Tracy, would you like to take this question?
Sure. Well, ultimately, it will be contractors' means and methods he'll determine. But we're thinking that with the full closure at the bridge of Donahue Road, he'll have use of the roadway in both approaches. So most likely on the west approach, we think that he could place a crane that would be used for placing the new deck units. And then you could also get deliveries. Again, there will still be access basically up to the bridge for truck deliveries and such. So primarily, most of the work can be performed from the roadway on either side of the bridge.
Thank you. Next question. Could the bridge have been constructed without a detour? And if so, why was that not considered? Tracy?
So we also looked at this option during preliminary engineering. There is a possibility of doing something called stage construction, where essentially we demolish about half of the bridge or a portion of the bridge and reconstruct the new portion while maintaining traffic on the existing portion of the bridge. In that situation, because the roadway is so narrow here, we could only have one lane maintained during stage construction, and it would be alternating one-way traffic. Because of the roadway width, in the temporary condition, the lane width would only be about 9 feet because we'd have to install a temporary barrier to protect that side of the bridge that's been removed. So that's pretty narrow. And considering that, if we went with stage construction, we were thinking that a widening of the bridge by about 5 feet would be needed just to maintain one lane of traffic during construction. And that widening by 5 feet would mean that we'd have to build extensions on the abutments, which we're currently not doing any major modifications. The wing walls would also have to be reconstructed on one side to accommodate that new wider superstructure. And then that adds to cost. That would increase right-of-way impacts and then also increase environmental impacts. So, and then when we talk to the town, stage construction would increase the duration of construction significantly. And to have an alternating one-way traffic pattern in place for a year or two, we all agreed that that was a less safe option versus just closing the roadway down, giving the contractor access, and then he can move around and not have to worry about traffic coming through. So,
Kirk, did you want to say?
Sure.
Yeah.
As Tracy said, we weighed out all the options, and the route that we wanted to go to was to replace this as soon as possible. And also the area is, as we know, it's a dark area and it would raise more safety concerns as well. So I think this was the best avenue to pursue, and that's why we're going forward with this.
Thank you. We have another question. What color will the bridge rail be? Tracy, take this question.
sure. It's up to the town. We'll be working with the town representatives to figure out what color they would like.
More than likely, we'll be going with the black railing and with the cobblestone, similar to cobblestone is similar to Silver Street Bridge, and the black railing, as you see, that is over Beeman Road. So that's really the direction we're looking right now.
Okay, thank you, Kirk. Next question. Will mail delivery be impacted? How will EMS be coordinated? Kirk?
Sure. We'll talk to the Postal Service, and it's unfortunate, but they're going to have to go up the mountain and come down Donahue to service those residents that live on that Beacon Tree and Donahue. And also, we are coordinating our efforts with all EMS, that's the fire department, police, and ambulance, and they're kept in the loop all along. And as we get closer to the replacement day, that we will certainly be having meetings and assuring the residents that they'll be safe. Everything will work out just fine.
Thank you. Next question. How will the residents know when the actual detour will begin? Will the town reach out to the residents? Kirk, would you like to take this question?
Sure. One of the venues we'll be using is our Granby webpage. So I urge anybody in the area to watch that for updates. Also, we'll be using signage in the area, and there'll be times when we'll send out flyers to the residents, and also we will be borrowing the police department's electronic signboard. So we'll do all we can to inform everyone and make this as smooth as possible.
Great, thank you. We have another question. Is the duplex coating over galvanized for the railings going to be used? Tracy or Anand?
Sure. That is one of the methodologies we'd be looking at is duplex coating, which is a combination of galvanizing and painting. It sort of provides, as the word suggests, double protection. We have, there have been projects in the past that have utilized this process to come up with a product that looks good and has a good service life. The other alternative is also metallizing that we can consider. So there are options available, and as we further progress as we further go through the design process, we'll come up with the best scheme that's possible.
Thank you, Anand. Next question. When is construction anticipated to start and how long will the detour be in place? Tracy, will you please take this question?
Sure. So based on the current project schedule, construction is anticipated to start in spring 2023. Construction usually starts early April. And the detour is anticipated to be in place for 6 to 7 months.
Okay. We have another question. There's an assumption that access will be maintained for residences at the northeast corner of the bridge, being within the construction limits. Tracy, will you please take that question?
Sure. Yes, in the project documents and the specifications, we will note that the contractor has to maintain access for that property owner so that they can get in and out of their driveway.
And just to add to Tracy's response, there'll also be a full-time inspector who will be monitoring the bridge inspection. And if there is any requirement for the contractor to temporarily block a roadway or his driveway, they will be seeking permission from the owner before doing that. And so that coordination will happen during construction, and that will be the responsibility of the inspector on the job.
Thank you, Anand. We have another question. Will Donahue be closed for the duration of the project or only while the superstructure is being replaced? Tracy, would you please take that question?
Sure. At this point, it's primarily for the demolition of the bridge and the superstructure work, as well as the approach roadway work. So there are some other activities that can be done outside of the roadway closure, installing the MBR, etc. When we get further into design, we can look at shortening that duration time frame, but conservatively, we're estimating the 6 to 7 months.
Okay. Next question. Will there be construction activities during the weekend? Tracy, will you please take this question?
Sure. Again, this is Tracy from CHA. At this point, as we answered earlier, we don't anticipate needing to do any construction on the weekends.
Okay. The following email question was received. What will be the weight limit be for the reconstructed bridge, and will the weight limit be posted? Anand from CHA, will you please take this question?
Sure. So when this bridge is constructed, there will not be any weight limit restrictions on the bridge. The bridge will be designed so that it carries all the AASHTO design loads. It will be able to carry all the legal loads that are allowed by the state and the feds, and also any of the permit loads that are allowed by the state. So again, it's a requirement that any new bridge construction be designed so that it can handle all these loads. So there will not be any weight restrictions on the bridge, and so therefore there will not be a need to post any weight limit signs for this bridge once it's done.
Okay, thank you very much, Anand. We currently don't have any more questions yet, so we'll just give it another minute to see if any other questions come in. And while we are waiting for questions, I would like to remind everyone again that this whole presentation, including the Q&A session, will be recorded and will be posted to YouTube following this event. The recording will also be made available on the link shown on the project webpage. So again, ladies and gentlemen, please don't hesitate to call in with questions. The phone number is again 860-944-1111, or email us. The address is dot-flbp@ct.gov. Okay, I guess we are not getting any more questions, so I'm going to take this opportunity to start wrapping up. I would like to encourage you all to take that survey. The link is shown at the top on the Teams chat box. Or for those of you watching on YouTube, the survey is below the video. This would really help us improve this virtual meeting experience in the future. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the department and the town of Granby, I would like to thank you for joining us tonight. We hope you found this meeting informative and that we were able to answer all your questions. All of us on the design team and the town of Granby are always available to answer any questions, even outside of the comment period. We are also available to meet with you individually on the project site if you so desire. Once again, thank you and have a wonderful evening.